Hello everyone, I'm Ixalan, and it's Wednesday, and that means it's time for another Crack-A-Pack. This week we're doing more Ixalan, of course, and in these videos I discuss what I would pick out of the pack. I also discuss my thoughts on the card, and limited at this point. These videos are brought to you by the Ether Hub, which is both a YouTube channel that I submit content to and a gaming store. You can head to etherhubtcg.com to buy cards, so check that out. We're going to go ahead and open this pack and start talking about it. Our first common is Sun-Crowned Hunters. I've played it in a decent number of red decks. It's nothing exciting though. It's just like a fine card at the top of your curve if you're especially a dinosaur deck. You know, obviously it works well with fight effects because of the Enrage, and the Enrage sometimes is pretty good. It feels a lot like Afflict sometimes, where you put your opponent in a situation where they have to block and lose a creature just to not die, but they're still taking 3 damage, and that's nice, but it's definitely not a first pickable kind of card. Next, we have Vampire Zeal, which is a nice combat trick, especially in a vampire deck, but it's fine in any deck. 1 white mana to give something +2/+2 until return is a good trick. Very easy to trade up with a card like this, but you still don't want to first pick it. There's very rarely tricks that you want to be first picking. Next, we have Desperate Castaways, which is another solid card, especially in a pirate deck, especially one that has Pirate's Cutlass. If you play this in turn 2 and Cutlass in turn 3, you're in pretty great shape. But, you know, it's on something you only want in a pirate deck and something you pick up like mid-pack, unless you already have several Cutlasses. Next, we have Fire Shrine Keeper, which I think is the best card in this cycle. Its menace means that it can help you trigger raid early, and it has a very powerful ability doing 3 damage to 2 different creatures. Obviously, most of the time you're not going to get to use the ability. I would only play this in a deck with like a lot of raid or in a very aggressive deck. Obviously, if you put auras on this, it's pretty nice because of menace, but still not a first pick. We have more underwhelming common with Ravenous Daggertooth, another just playable card that is like sometimes a 22nd, 23rd card in my deck. It goes a little higher if you're in a dinosaur deck, but not a lot higher. Okay, next we have Shaper Apprentice, and I think right now this would actually be my first pick. It is one of the best commons for a Merfolk deck, and it has a decent floor, you know, a 2-mana 2/1, and it's going to have flying a decent amount of the time in most situations. Hopefully it's not what we end up first picking from this pack. It would have to prove to be quite weak, but right now that's what we're looking at. And now we just have a straight bad common in Demolish. Terrible card, don't play it. You'll almost never sight it in either unless you're really desperate to destroy an artifact or something. It's a bad card. Okay, I think this is our new first pick, and it's Grazing Whiptail. Nothing incredibly exciting, but a 4-mana 3/4 reach is good stats in this format. Holds back a lot of things like Shaper Apprentice with flying. So I like it a fair amount, and it's what I'm thinking about first picking now. Next we have Duress. Definitely good in Constructed, not so good in Limited. You'll sight it in Limited, but you won't mainboard it most of the time. Certainly not a first pick. All right, now we have another new first pick, and that is Unfriendly Fire. It's a little bit clunky, but the fact that it can go to the dome and the fact that it's instant speed make it pretty good. It kills the majority of creatures in the format. And again, the fact that you can dome your opponent with it adds some much needed flexibility. So we're looking at Unfriendly Fire. Our first common is Siren Storm Tamer. This is a good card. It's a 1-mana 1/1 with flying, obviously. Those stats usually aren't incredible. But the activated ability it has is quite strong, and the fact that it has flying and that it's a pirate are all good things. I would still take Unfriendly Fire over it, but I'm just trying to convey that it's actually a pretty good card, just not better than Unfriendly Fire. Next we have Heartless Pillage. This is another card that's mostly a sideboard card. It's just Mind Rot with a little bit of upside. I don't basically never mainboard it. Okay. Next we have Bishop of the Bloodstained. A good payoff for a vampire deck, but like not an incredible one. It has a terrible floor if you don't end up in vampires. I only like taking this particular vampire payoff if you already have a bunch of vampires, because that's what he needs to be good. If you just have like 6 or 7 in your deck, he's not going to do much. You need a deck that's making tokens. You need to really get there in a vampire deck for him to be good. So, you know, it's not like Anointed Deacon, which is good in a lot of situations, whereas Bishop of the Bloodstained is only good in one. And our rare is also terrible. It is Sanguine Sacrament. Yeah, you get to gain twice X life. It gets shuffled back in or put on the bottom of your library. Basically what it can do is, I mean, kind of the joke here is that you can cast it and wait for your opponent to mill themselves out while you only have 1 card left in your library and just keep casting it. But that's pretty terrible. You know, in Limited especially. Life gain just doesn't do enough. So in the end, this was actually a pretty weak pack. One of the weaker ones I think I've opened. But we do have, I think, a clear first pick in Unfriendly Fire. I think it's the top pick in this pack, followed by the Grazing Whiptail, and then Shaper Apprentice. So that's what I would first pick. Let me know in the comments what you would first pick. And don't forget to check out etherhubtcg.com. Thanks for watching.